Welcome to another edition of the Make More Marbles podcast. My name is Brad Hart. As always, this is Make More Marbles. Chris, thank you so much for being here. Really grateful and excited to have you here, brother. And we were just catching up before the call, and you got some incredible stuff to share. So we'll get right into that in a minute. First things first, hashtag live if you're on the live, hashtag replay if you're on the replay. Hit us up in the comments if you have questions, last minute qualms, queries, concerns, questions, anything like that. We've also got some questions from the audience, from the group. We appreciate you. Chris is going to be going ahead and tagging you as we answer your questions. So you make sure you get your question answered. And don't forget, gang, we have Mastermind to Millions coming up March 23rd to 26th here in Phoenix, Arizona. We got some tickies moving for that. Don't sleep on this, gang. This is going to be the best way to get your mastermind up and running or scaled up or join a mastermind or whatever you're looking to do. We're looking to be the one-stop shop for masterminds. That's Jay Fizzette, myself. Chris is going to come along, hang out with us. We got some incredible clients and sponsors and speakers and all kinds of good stuff coming. So I'm actually really excited. We sold the last speaker spot. So very, very good stuff. Cool. Yeah. So getting right into it, Chris, what do we got for questions? Oh, and if you want to buy tickets, you go to mastermindtomillions.live. That's mastermindtomillions.live. Thank you. Okay.
And it's down.
What do we got for questions?
It's in the comment box right now already.
Thank you.
So I dropped a question in the Facebook group around you knowing your niche and messaging to that said niche. And the first question is from Beth Dreyer. How to tell people I can help them with their pain, but I'm not a physical therapist.
Okay. So this comes down to a regulated area and a licensed area, right? So as you probably already know, there's people with licenses to help with these people and regulations around this, and you can make certain claims but not others. I don't pretend to be a lawyer and I'm not here to give legal advice, but my understanding is as long as you disclose adequately what you are able to do, what you're licensed to do, what you're not licensed to do, and you don't pretend like you can do something that you can't or that you can't prove that you can, and that you have referrals to people who are outside your purview of help, that should be okay as long as that's disclosed. Like, hey, you know, maybe you go to the people that have tried everything and worked with professionals and not gotten the result. And you start with them, or you just say people, hey, straight up, like this was my experience and how I managed. Like, I presume you're in this because you had pain at one point, but I can't know that for sure. It would help to have a little more background. Maybe you say something along the lines of like, hey, this is my experience. This is how I solved my pain. I tried everything. You kind of share the hero's journey. And now I've got like a better understanding of it. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. I don't have any kind of degree or license, but what I can share is what's worked for me. And as long as you understand that I'm not warranting this in any way, I have this program that might be able to help, and you can kind of talk about what that is. And then finally, end of the day, you just want to answer their individual concerns, right? So people are going to come to you with different issues. You don't want to just go down the gamut of trying to solve every issue that might ever exist. You just want to ask them like, well, what concerns you have? What challenges have you faced? What solutions have you tried before? Get a good sense, like before you even recommend your product or your service or anything that you have, get a good sense of where they're at. Where are they looking to go? What have they tried before? What happens if they don't? Like go through that kind of rubric in your head and start thinking like, who is this person in front of me and what's the next best thing for them? So we teach a really strong, we'll do this live, we'll do this at the event and also in our program, market research formula, where you kind of get people on the phone, you get an understanding of their fears, wants, hopes, desires, dreams, how they articulate it in their language. And then you have kind of a menu you're building of potential options for meeting those objections, meeting those issues, your offer, how you present that to those specific people so you can customize the offer. And there's some magical questions you can ask, such as, since you know yourself better than anybody else, what are the tools, resources, and support that you need in order to get this outcome, right? So you're understanding where they're at, you're understanding where they're looking to go. Then they're going to tell you with that question, the vehicle, so to speak, that you're building for them to get there. And that's part of your offer. Another question, bonus question, since, people watch these live, I want to give them live updates. I'm always thinking of better quality questions and testing them out in my interactions. I just came back from Genius Network for 2 days. I was at Flight Club for 3 days. I tested this question, and beyond every other question I've ever asked when I'm first getting to know people, because I hate small talk and I hate asking people where they're from, what they do. It's irrelevant to me. I want to know who they are and how I can help them. The question that's really worked really well is, this is a writer downer. how can I add the most value to your life right now?
Ooh. Ooh, I'm gonna start using that one.
Isn't that great? Every single person, I'm talking like millionaires, 100 millionaires, all the way up and down, that I've asked that question to has been like, yeah.
How can I add the most value to you right now?
How can I add the most value to your life right now?
To your life.
Yeah.
To your life right now. I
That's
like it.
Question. Another question, bonus question I've been asking this for years is, what are you excited about right now?
Yeah.
Because that gives you a million different threads you can pull on, right? I don't care where you're from. It's irrelevant. It's background data. It puts people in a trance, and they give you the same spiel they give to everybody else. And it's not really relevant, in my opinion, where they're from. I want to know who they are and how I can help them, right? And then I asked that other question. Between those two questions, you got a full conversation right there. You can start pulling on all these threads, and they talking about this and that and the other thing, and you're getting clear on who this person is, what they care about, where they're looking to go, and then you can begin to help them. So that's really the essence of a mastermind. You can do a little mini mastermind hot seat with 2 questions. Pretty cool. And then based on that, you can build offers and test them that will work to solve those. So that's a long answer, but I think I gave a lot of value there. So
I'll add into that because it's pretty much what I'm doing with police departments right now. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist, but I'm helping police departments prevent burnout within their departments from my experience.
That's right. And as long as you're clear about that.
And my learnings.
Yep. 100%.
I'm teaching you what I have learned by going through burnout, almost ruining my entire life. Brad knows the whole story, but a lot of you guys do that are listening. And I'm going to help your officers prevent burnout through my experiences and learnings.
That's it.
And I've created a program on it.
You can always speak to your experience. I was a police officer for 7 years. I burned out due to X, Y, and Z. I learned how to cope, and I'm still here. And I think what I have to share is valuable. You get to decide for yourself. But I'm not pretending to be a doctor or anything else.
Through my experiences and through the 600 plus people that I've assisted and helped, and probably helped close to 1,000 people because of the interviews that I've done and all the knowledge that I've learned from all that. That's
it. And you kind of brushed up against a really cool concept here. It's about the line of super credibility. There's a line of super credibility. Dr. Peter Diamandis talks about this, where it's like, up until you get to that line, people are still like, and then you hit that line. It's like, oh, they're in, they're bought in. Right. So it's whatever you need to say that is true in the way you need to say it. That is the best possible light you could put it in to get people to a point where they're like, oh yeah, I'm bought in on that. I believe it. And when you're first starting out, you have a lot of imposter syndrome, and it's really hard to do this. But the reality is, if you really are honest with yourself and kind to yourself and actually look back on your experience and think about, like, how can I frame this in the best possible light without lying? Like, there's probably more there than you realize. And we always discount our own expertise. We always discount our own experiences, or we always think, oh, well, that's normal. Everybody else knows that, right? Like, there's these little tiny nuanced things that we think are nothing that somebody else thinks is everything and changes their life.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the shift that you got to make, is like, what's the value of a question? Well, it sounds like a couple of words strung together, but the right question at the right time for the right person opens up a door that could change everybody's life. I live in that flow all the time. I experience that all the time. $1 million deals are happening around me all the time, and bigger, as a result of quality questions from people who have a genuine desire to help each other without any expectation of return. Because we're not worried about any one deal. We're worried about the aggregate of us winning. And this is a mastermind concept. This is what masterminds are about, is like, everybody comes in and they're holding their cards to their chest and they're wondering, how can I get mine without giving up too much? But when you start to realize that you can't, literally, there's this unbelievably big well of possibility that you can never exhaust, and get out of your own way and just start helping people, like, it starts opening up to you in bigger and bigger and bigger ways. And it never comes from the place you think it's going to come from. But if you hold back, it shuts off the flow. You're telling the universe, I don't want this. I'm not worthy of this. I'm not grateful for this. But when you show the universe, I'm going to consistently show up in the best possible way to help the most number of people, all of your needs, desires are met instantaneously. I truly believe that. And it's been true in my life. Like, whenever I hold back, things constrict. Whenever I focus on myself, my own problems, things constrict. Whenever I get out of my own way and my own bullshit, and I become a vessel through which I serve others, unlimited.
When you sit in that contribution, Brad?
That's it. There's growth and contribution. We talk about this. I had a great conversation yesterday about this. Growth without a purpose is cancer.
Yeah.
Growing at all costs is the motto of cancer. Contribution at all costs is the motto of a martyr, right? There's a balance between miser and martyr. You have to give and you have to receive. If you lead with giving, receiving will naturally happen. If you shut yourself off from receiving, that's a problem. If you don't ever give, that's a problem. But you have to find that balance that works for you at wherever you're at. So my goal in every day is to put myself in the best possible state to give as much as possible so that I can receive as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. That kind of leads us into the next question that Tiffany had. She has a focus problem in expressing her niche. She knows nothing about messaging to that niche. We don't know what the niche is, but
expressing niche. So let's separate these. So she has an issue with focus. That's one thing, right? Where she's feeling like she maybe has attention deficit or whatever people call it these days. Maybe she just needs a new diet, new exercise program, new whatever, right? I'm finding it's a capacity issue too. Let's say you're currently experiencing burnout. Like you have a diminished capacity. So maybe for a while, you need to take a little bit more time to recover and rest and eventually build back your capacity. And then once you get to a good place where you have your historical capacity again, then you focus on increasing that capacity. Right. So a capacity for attention can be grown by, well, you can start eliminating things that ruin it, like watching, scrolling through your phone, being around your phone at all, turn your phone off, walk outside, like get back into nature, get reset. So you can have a capacity just to be with yourself. And it's going to be painful because you're probably addicted to the busyness and the goingness, which everybody is. I mean, phones are crazy, man. Like I barely spend any time on my phone during the workday. I mostly do work on computers because I can walk away from a computer. This thing is like tethered to my hip if I'm not careful.
Dude, I just ran out of data, like too much posting of stuff from my 5G. And I ran out of data yesterday. And this morning at the gym, I had no data. And I found myself, I was like, I got to get some data back on my phone because that addiction type side of thing. I'm like, actually, this is probably one of the best things that could happen for me right now is not to have it. And so when I leave the house, I have no data. I have no phone. And
yes, I have no bananas. I have no bananas.
It cuts
today.
Like 90% of everything out because everything comes through data. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. Crazy. But like you said, the capacity side of stuff, we've got to sometimes disconnect to reconnect.
That's right. And these things are designed after the most addictive devices in the world, which are called slot machines.
I love the photo as well. And yes, you're right.
Yeah, that's Jasmine, my fiance. And
I can't wait to see her. I haven't seen her in ages.
She is the best. So first, reclaim your attention that you already have. Second, restore your capacity. Third, increase your capacity. But it has to happen in time. And maybe you'll be like, oh, I'm busy. We'll have kids. We'll have this. We'll have that. Well, I met, my friend Kira, who recently, she has 5 children and she recently got divorced. And she's like, I'm burning down. I can't handle all the shit. I got my business. I got this. I got that. My kids. I can't do it. And I'm like, well, you're thinking about it in a way that's like overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Don't try to solve everything at once. Let's break this into phases. Like what would be the easiest and most clear way to do it right now. So we broke it into 3 phases. Said, hey, first you're going to hire an EA and start getting some stuff off your plate at work and a maid. You're going to hire an EA and a maid. So you're going to start to attack low-level tasks that just need to be off your plate. Ordering meal prep, doing laundry, chasing the kids down, making them lunches. Get somebody like that. Get somebody on the work side to get rid of anything that's not $100 plus an hour task. Get that off your plate. That's phase 1. And she's like, well, my money's constrained too. I'm like, yeah, just phase 1, just do that. Right. Yeah. Eventually we want to spend a bunch of money, but we have to make money and kind of do a balance. Right. So it's like, okay, phase 1, get rid of that. And then I forget exactly what I did for phase 2 and phase 3. But once phase 1 is underway, you start to recover time, which allows you to go out and make more money for higher level stuff. Right. That then you can reinvest in really A-player employees that can take more stuff off your plate. Right. So it's like, start where you're at, get the lowest level stuff off your plate first, and then up level as time goes on. You don't try to tackle it all at once. And just having that plan, she could breathe a sigh of relief. Mm-hmm. Even before she enacted it. Now she's enacting it. She's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm like, yeah, I get it. We all get overwhelmed. It's a function of leveling up.
Create the plan.
So focus was one issue. We talked about focus, right? And some quick things. The other thing is just do less shit. I have a great friend, James, who was close to death at one point in his life. and he adopted Marie Kondo's thing, the joy of decluttering or art of cleaning up or tidying up, or forget what the name of her book is, but he essentially took that question from that book, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it's like, does this spark joy, or does this bring me joy? And if the answer is no, get rid of it. And he applied that to everything in his life, and it saved his fucking life. Like, he was ready to die, he was planning to die, and it saved his life. So pretty cool. Doing less shit and making sure the things that you're doing spark joy. And if it doesn't, who would it spark joy for? And how do I get it off onto their plate, not on my plate? And if it doesn't spark joy for me, it doesn't spark joy for anybody else. Do I really need it? And how can I get it to not be a thing anymore?
And I'll add on to that, Brad, is the joy side is a real simple one to find. But if you know it, also know your purpose. Does it line with your purpose? If it doesn't line with your purpose for helping yourself and helping others, then don't do it.
That's it. Yeah. Once you have your values and your purpose and your mission kind of clear, within a reasonable degree of certainty, it becomes easy to make decisions. Like, does this align or not? Period.
And then that comes into the other part of her question around focus. The focus problem is expressing our niche. If it doesn't line up with your purpose and your values and your mission, then you won't feel comfortable expressing it. And then you won't do it.
Right.
And you shouldn't. Because if it doesn't line up with it, then there's a reason it doesn't. So figure out what that purpose is, figure out what those values are, figure out what that mission is, line the niche up with it, and watch yourself excel.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't be afraid to try new stuff. But at the end of the day, pick something, go with something.
Take action.
Yeah. Because if you can get a mastermind done that you've at least gotten through it one time from start to finish, even if you pivot to something else, you've done the mastermind bit. You know how the model works now, somewhat. Where a lot of people get stuck is they never get started because they're like, oh, I have this idea and this idea. Just pick one, anyone, doesn't matter. Just do it once. Yeah.
So you've seen my journey, Brad. How many things have I picked?
Well, how many masterminds have I launched and then ultimately given up on too? I nixed another one recently that I'll still do them, but I'm not trying to do it as a business, right? It's just some things don't scale. Some things are more fun on the paper than they are in the reality of it. Some things are like a lot of brain damage that you don't anticipate beforehand, but you got to try stuff, right? Yeah. And then the ones that really work, you scale it up.
Yeah, it's fun. Okay, cool. Next question is, how do you know your niche is the right one and that they're the big enough market?
Yeah, so I wouldn't worry about the size of the market because we don't need 10,000 people to join our
I work with cops.
Yeah.
It's
we
like
don't need
really
10,000
small
people
niche
to join our mastermind. We need like 5 to 15 people to join our mastermind, really, to start. Like, that's it. So don't worry about the size. Worry about whether it's a real problem that people are willing to pay to solve. That's it. Whether it's, even if there's like 500 people in the world that have the problem, you can build a mastermind around that. And there's 8 billion people on planet Earth. So likely you find 500 that will do something, and you just test it out. And it could be, if it's not working, it could be a function of it's really not an idea that anybody cares to pay for, or it's just not something that's valuable enough to pay for. Or it could be you don't have the influence over the people who actually would want it in your network. Like they're out there maybe, but you don't have a way to reach them that's cost effective, time, energy, money, whatever, time. So you have to decide when to cut bait, right? On a bad idea. It's like, that's why we work through the market research process with our clients to get them to a point where it's like within 2 weeks, you know if you're going to make money or not. And if not, you pivot to the next best idea instead of wasting 2 months or 2 years of your life.
And it's not that that first idea that you did market research on is wrong. It's that you probably, like you said, Brad, you don't have the influence at this time over that. 5 years ago, when I met you, I didn't have the influence to be able to hit police departments.
That's right.
5 years on and a year of a lot of work directed directly at that, I have enough influence.
Right. You're starting to break down the doors.
I'm starting to break down the doors now.
In a big way. And I'm proud of you, man. I've seen you work hard at it, and you set your mission. You're like, hey, I'm just going to work the formula. This is the thing I love about Chris. I taught him to do it and it worked, and he just kept doing it. Most people,
just keep doing it.
Either they won't learn, they won't learn in the first place, or they won't see the simplicity and the, like, guys, I've spent 20 years of my life getting it to a point where I could just hand it to you. There's value in that.
I'm gonna rewind for a second. Let's rewind back to January 2019. Brad and I, no, sorry, let's go to December 2018.
2018. Yeah.
Let's go December 2018. I walk up to my wife at Date with Destiny, Tony Robbins. She's sitting next to Brad, who I come to find out, underneath a blanket. And we tell this story all the time. I walk up because I'm going to get some food, and I go to her, do you want some food? And as I walk up, Brad lifts his hands up like, surrender. I'm not doing anything. In a joking way, of course. And I'm like,
Chris is 6'7" and 200 plus pounds. He's a big guy.
Yeah,
like,
at the time I'm like 230 pounds. I'm 6'6". Yeah. And I walk up and he goes, I'm not doing anything. I was like, I trust her. It's fine. Whatever. Hey, I'm Chris. And then go, do you guys want any food? But then we fast forward. What was it? It would have been only a couple weeks. And I hear Brad say something about, hey, I'm going to help people build masterminds. And at the time I had a general idea of it. And I kind of had an idea of masterminds. I was trying to create my own, and that I go, well, I trust Brad. He's connected with my wife in a next level way, helped her. Okay, cool. We get on a call. I'm at my uncle's house in Houston. We get on a Zoom call and we're talking about stuff. And he goes, oh, I know you need to, we get to the stage where I'm going to hand over my credit card. He goes, I know you probably need to talk to Kristen. I go, no, I'm doing it now. Let me just go get my card. And I walk downstairs. I go, I'm signing up with Brad. And my wife looks at me and goes, with what money? And I go, with the money that's there in the savings, or I'll just use my credit card. I'll make it work.
I'll make it work. Yeah.
I'll make it work. And so I literally went back upstairs, gave him my credit card. We signed up. And then we started, what was it? It would have been about a month later, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, something like that. It was right in the new year, something like that. Whatever.
Pretty far back. There was a whole pandemic.
It was quite far back. And I walked into that room of Zoom, and there were people in there making 6, making 7 figures. And I was like, holy shit, what did I just do? And Brad started to lay out the process step by step. And I went, okay, cool. I'll just follow the process. And guess what? I've done that since.
That's it.
In literally before the program was even in, like, what was it? Like 4 weeks, I had like 8 clients.
Yeah. Because you just did the thing. You didn't let your stuff get in the way. It's like, and
when I did get in the way, when it did get in the way, I came to Brad and I went,
that's right.
Oh my God, I don't think I can fucking do this. This is not going to work. And it was like Brad walked, and we walked through, just set with the process. And I still use this process to this day. And this is why, again, I'm coming to Mastermind to Millions, because I'm like, cool. Let's tell people about this process even more, but also let's hone in this process even tighter from him and Jay, so that I can then excel even more. It's the same process. I'm just going to hear it in a different way at a different stage of my life, a different stage of my business.
Yeah. And you're going to get different nuances. You know, you can never enter the same
different ways to say it,
because it's never the same river and you're never the same man.
No.
Simple as that, you know? And you get to learn from somebody who's been insanely impactful in my life. Jake, is that you've been doing this for 30 years and not even close to what I've been doing. He's done this so many times. He's been there, done that, wrote the book, bought the t-shirt, come back, been grumpy about it. Now he's back in it. So it's
but you know where I was going with all that is it literally is it is a very simple process, but everybody complicates it way too much.
Agreed. And simple doesn't necessarily mean easy. There is work.
No.
Simple doesn't mean that you're going to figure it out on your own. And simple also means, like, people overestimate how simple it is. They get really far down the road and then, like, they just have all these brain damage things come up where they don't have anybody to ask who's actually done this a bajillion times to help them guide through. So, like, even people who have had some success on their own, they come to me, they pay me the money, and then they get better results because they have nuances they didn't have or would took years to figure out or never would have figured it out.
I could have probably figured out in some way or something with what I was doing, but I would still be floundering around with it. But back to the thing of, is the niche right? Again, lining up. I've used the process on 6 different topics. Tried to do a men's group at one stage. I didn't have the know-how, or I didn't have the audience for
influence.
Yeah, the influence on it. So I can that. Now, could I do it now? Possibly, but I'd need to spend some time becoming the influence of that. Can I do it with law enforcement? Yes, I can now, because I've been literally talking to them for 5 years now. That's it. And aspiring ones.
That's one of those unlimited niches, man. And there's so much money in law enforcement.
Yeah.
There's so much budget. If you become the guy, well, now you can certify and train the other guys.
Yeah, exactly. I've got those big images in that, but it's focusing on the process, not, and focusing on taking that action every single day towards your niche, talking to them, making mistakes, being okay with making those mistakes and going, oh, yeah, no, sweet. I've shifted. I've done this, because your niche doesn't really care. They won't even see it, to be perfectly honest, half the time.
That's true. Yeah. You never see the version before. You only see the version now.
Yeah. I think back to my clients that are cops right now, and I'm sitting there still talking to them. I'm like, man, I wish you'd just come through my program again now, because compared to 4 years ago.
Well, that's why I keep everybody around too. Like, I don't really kick people out of my program. We're going to have to now because of Mastermind Millions. We're going to have too many, but generally speaking, I'm like, once you're in my orbit, I just keep helping you.
Yeah. I keep reaching out to people. I keep talking to people. They're never out of my orbit either. I'm just like, come into the new version, like come see the new stuff, like this new program, which isn't the police prep. That's the actual current cop one.
And I don't want to take credit for this idea. This idea is as old as time. Like, if you listen or read about ancient Roman history, for example, which is thousands of years ago now, this idea of a client meant something different than it means today. This is like somebody who you do business with for life. This isn't like a one and done. Like, when you have a client, like let's say you're a senator or a politician or somebody of influence, that means that you're helping each other for life. They're paying you, but you're like consistently doing stuff with them for the rest of your life. You're helping advance their career. You're helping advance their interests for the rest of their life. And that kind of struck me as like, oh, that's really interesting. I wonder how we fell off of that. Because I feel like nowadays we're allergic to long-term relationships. We want instant gratification. We tend to forget, because there's so many people in our lives, just how wonderful the people in our lives are. We have our phones, which are distracting us constantly. There's always a new addiction. I mean, think about living in ancient Rome. The people around you literally were your life or death. And as much as you could grow your influence, the sky was the limit. Think of somebody like Julius Caesar, who became the most influential person in the world at one time, or at least the known world, and then was killed by all his followers because he stepped in the wrong direction, or people, there was a coup essentially. Like, anyway, I don't know. I got off on that tangent, but the idea here is lifetime relationships with clients can yield lifetime dividends. And I'm an example of somebody who, within reason, I can't be everything to everybody all the time, but I really want to continue to help people as much as I possibly can. That's where my heart is. And yeah, that's going to require some trade-offs. And yeah, I'm going to have to make compromises here and there, but generally speaking, that's my ethos. I want to keep helping people that are in my orbit. They keep investing in me. I keep investing in them, and everybody's happy.
Oh, dead true. And it
cool.
is, yeah.
Questions. Let's keep cruising.
That is the last question, Brad.
Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, here, the sales pitch. Come to Mastermind Millions. Go to mastermindmillions.live. Go VIP so we can hang out more. If you want to bring your mastermind, if you already have a mastermind, we can sell you a table. We have 8 resellable tickets, so you don't have to necessarily come out of pocket on that. You'll get a booth. You'll get a little shout out from stage. We'll send you leads through mastermind. We're also doing like a mastermind on Monday after the event, like a Monday fun day kind of deal, where if you want to come with us, we'll be doing masterminding. We'll probably like do a fun racetrack day and go race cars and have a nice dinner and like hang out with all the sponsors and speakers and stuff. So that'll be a good chance for you to hobnob and meet some amazing people. I met my first mastermind business partner at Mastermind Millions in the VIP reception the day before. That led to a mastermind in China and Hong Kong with Michael Quinn. 52 people, made some money, had some fun, learned a ton of stuff, launched $1 million business off the back of it. Really, really cool. So whatever you decide to do, and I get it, if you can't afford to do VIP right now, just come anyway, just get a ticket, get in the room, right? And if you decide to upgrade on the day, that's fine too. I'm trying to think. Don't let money stand in the way. So I talk about, I'll end on this. I talk about different objections and how there's strong objections and weak objections, or there's real objections and polite objections. And anytime somebody talks to me about money or their spouse, their business partner, some authority issue that they can't make this decision on their own, or time, what it really comes down to is I point him back to people like Chris. Like, he didn't have the money. His wife was like, where the hell's the money coming from? And he had a million things going on and timing sucked, but he found the money. He convinced his wife and he prioritized the time. So when people are really bought into what you're doing, those excuses go out the window. Money, time, and authority. What you really need to drill in and focus on, in my opinion, are two things: trust and ego. Do they trust themselves? Do they trust others? Do they trust life? And then do they feel like they need help or not? Ego is the thing that kills most deals. And you can break any of these objections, but if they don't believe they need help, that's the biggest issue. It doesn't matter if they can afford it. It doesn't matter if they have authority. It doesn't matter if they have the time, the priority. They have to get to a place where they're humble enough to ask for and value the help. Yeah. So I want to leave you with that. Yeah. All right, gang. I'll see you at Mastermind of Millions, if not sooner. Thank you for the questions as always. Thank you for being a part of the group. We'll hit you with the everyone tag, everyone's favorite tag. So you make sure to see this. And yeah, come play with us. It's really fun. And we're going to give you a skill set that's going to feed you for the rest of your life, help you create incredible networks, and open up your network to possibilities that may bring in millions of dollars into your life, which has happened to me. And I'm very excited. And I'd like to share with you my experience, as well as Jay's and everybody else's who's had those types of results.
I'll say, so one of the reasons that I'm wanting to be there the most, Brad, is because of those networks, because of those connections, because of being in the same room as you again, as Jay, and then all the people that are in your network, the people that I've met through knowing you, next level. So I'll just reinforce what Brad said. Just make it happen, make it work, figure it out.
We're talking about a couple $100, maybe $1,000 or $2,000, and you talk about flights and hotels. Like, find a way. Yeah, find a way. Don't let money be the excuse to not change your life.
Yeah,
in a positive way.
You can always, as Kristen says, you can always make more money.
You can always make more money. There's plenty of money out there. You cannot make more time. You cannot make more opportunities.
No, definitely.
Once they're gone, they're gone. All right, gang. See you at Mastermind of Millions. Mastermindofmillions.live for tickets. Let's rock. Love you. Talk soon.
Latest.